Hello, my name's Tulsi. I'm one of the doctors here. I've just been asked to examine Amy. Is that all right with you, Mum? How old is Amy?
Amy's 8, she'll be 9 in August.
Okay, good. And do you feel she's in any pain or discomfort at the moment?
No, she's mildly impatient, but I think she's feeling fine.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to examine her upper limbs. If you feel anything I'm going to do is going to cause her pain or discomfort, let me know and I'll stop right away, okay? Hi, Amy, how are you? You've got a lovely smile there. I'm just going to have a quick look around. Okay, can I have a look at your hands? One hand? Keep one hand, I'll take it later. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to move your hand a little bit, okay? Can I look at this hand? Is that all right? Thank you. That's great. Would she be able to put her hands above her head?
If you help her do it,
yeah?
she
She
can.
can, okay. I'm going to try and do that. Should we try and put your hands up? Is that all right?
And have a big stretch, Amy.
I'll try from the elbows, actually. Might be easier. Okay, I'll stop. Not to worry. Okay, I'm just going to try and check her reflexes, yeah, Mum? Yes. Sorry, Amy. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Thanks, Mum. This is Amy, an 8-year-old girl who I did an upper motor limb neuro examination on. On observation, she's in a wheelchair. She has spinal braces on the side, and she's bringing her arms into the midline. She's trying to vocalize. Her upper limbs do seem to be quite hypertonic, and Mum says she is able to understand, but she has difficulties carrying out the commands. She did allow me to move her limbs. She does have a fairly good range of movement. There's a little bit of stiffness limiting that as well. On examination of her reflexes, she's quite stiff, so I had a difficulty eliciting them, and I haven't been able to test coordination or sensation. I don't feel I would be able to do that. I would like to complete my examination by plotting her on a growth chart. I feel she does look quite short for her age, and I'd also like to do a full neurological examination and examine her lower limbs as well.
So you mentioned that it was difficult to elicit her reflexes because
Yes.
she was stiff. What is the impact of the involuntary movements on your elicitation of the reflexes?
So when she's quite stiff, reflexes are usually better when they're a bit more relaxed, but she's quite stiff, so I couldn't actually get the reflexes.
Can you make any assessment of Amy's cognitive function from your observation of her?
So she's quite awake, alert. She is vocalizing as well. And on conversation with Mum, she does say she understands, but trying to, if I ask her to move her hands, she wouldn't be able to necessarily do that. So I feel she is slightly delayed in terms of cognition and in terms of following commands.
And can you make some comment about how Amy holds her hands and what you notice that she does?
So she's bringing her hands into the midline. She has repetitive movements such as putting her hands in her mouth. And on her index finger on her right hand, actually, there was a little bit of redness, suggesting she does this quite often as a routine, regular, repetitive action. This is seen quite commonly in Rett syndrome.
So what other features of Amy would you say point to a diagnosis of Rett syndrome?
So she's in a wheelchair. She's, from what I've noticed, she's not really moving her lower limbs at all. She does have, so the repetitive movements, bringing her arms into the midline. She does seem quite alert and interested in other things as well, what's going on around her.
So you mentioned her alertness.
Yeah.
How might this help Amy in the communication?
So I'm assuming if she wants something, she can express her needs with her eyes and her vocalization as well. She could probably also use certain computers which do correlate with eye movements as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for bringing Amy. And while we were examining her, you gave us some really great insights into her. Can you just give me a summary of how you would describe Rett syndrome as a mum of a young girl with Rett?
I think the best description I've heard of Rett syndrome is that it's a motor disorder and not a mental disorder. I think that in the past, children like Amy, people would look at them and think they don't really understand anything because their bodies don't work, their minds clearly aren't able to work because they're not able to use their bodies to show how much they know. But what we understand now about Rett is that it is principally a motor disorder, that Amy's body isn't able to do the things that her brain might want it to do. And so as a result, she doesn't do any of the, she's never done any of the things that we would expect a typically developing young child to do. She doesn't point or clap or wave. Her motor skills are very, very underdeveloped. She's not able to bear weight, or to sit, or to stand or walk. Although Rett syndrome does affect different children in different ways, and some children do have better gross motor skills than Amy does. But really the important thing to remember about her is that she's able to understand a whole lot more than she can show. And the strength of her communication lies in her eyes and the way that she uses those to communicate with us.
Does she use any aids to help communicate?
She uses a special computer at school. We have it set up at school, but we're still trying to get it set up at home. An eye gaze computer. Her eyes function effectively like a mouse, and she's able to navigate around screens and between screens and answer questions and say what she wants to say. To some extent, she's able to do that. Very exciting.
And you know, I was thinking with Amy holding her hands in the midline like that and putting them in her mouth, people could be confused by that and assume that cognitively she's not actually that bright. Is that something that you find?
Yes, it's a real problem actually. It's a challenge. The fact that her hands are so permanently here in the midline and in her mouth. It's a feature of Rett syndrome. The repetitive hand movements. Usually it's one of the keys to diagnosing the condition initially. That's what might be going on. She's not choosing to put her hands in her mouth. It's different, I think, to autism, where you have children who are, it's stimulated behaviour as they're doing something that comforts or calms them. I think that's not the case with Amy here. When we help her to move her hands out of her mouth, she doesn't object to that. Often it helps her to concentrate more on what she's doing. So actually, we spend quite a lot of time bracing her arms so that they can't go in her mouth, and it means that as a result she's able to better concentrate sometimes at school or on particular tasks. We're not quite sure why it works that way, but it does seem to work that way. So for example, she loves playing the piano, or sitting beside somebody who plays the piano. she responds really well to music. And so if she has her arm braces on, so that means her elbows don't bend. It's not about restraining her actually, it's about helping her to do a little bit more when her hands aren't constantly going up to her mouth. Can we believe there's something in her brain that's dragging her hands to her mouth? When that's not happening, she can reach out and she can do a tiny bit more with her hands. So at the piano, she will sit with her arm braces on and she will reach out and she'll try to play notes. It's something that we've had to learn, and the occupational therapists who work with her have learned as well, that it's not about restraint, it's actually about helping her out a bit.
Wonderful. And it's her back brace. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, it's quite a common feature of Rett syndrome to have scoliosis. She has a neuromuscular curve that started developing when she was quite young and developed quite fast. So she does have quite a severe case of scoliosis for a child as young as she is. She wears a spinal brace for all her waking hours. She doesn't wear it in bed, but we put it on when she gets up in the morning, and she wears it pretty much all the time except when she's being examined. It seems to hold her spine, certainly it holds her spine more straight than without it. It also seems to help her actually feel a bit more secure in her chair and in her surroundings. I think one of the features of her condition is that I think she feels very, very unbalanced. And the brace, I think, just helps provide a bit of security around her. And we believe that as far as we can tell, it's very hard to know, but we believe that it slowed the progress of the curve, which is what we were aiming for. It's difficult to know what would have happened if she hadn't worn the brace, but it does seem to be helping. And so the likelihood is that she will need spinal fusion surgery at some stage. And I know lots of girls with the same condition who are older than her who've had their spines straightened very effectively. It's been a really good thing. So we just keep an eye on that, because obviously we don't want her to get ill as a result of developing scoliosis, and we want to intervene at the right time, really.
Thank you so much, that's really helpful.